Hello and welcome to Candid Conversations by ATH. I'm Lavanya Iyengar and I'm bringing to you a conversation with Mallika Mittal, the CRO of Mahindra Finance, and Pankaj Sharma, the CBO of Lentra. In these conversations, we try to find the unique leadership styles, career aspirations, and defining experience amongst our leaders. We explore the persona behind the different roles that they play today. We are with Mallika Mittal, who is currently the Chief Risk Officer and Steering Committee member at Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services Limited. Mallika has vast and extensive experience, especially in risk management across private sector banks of the country. With Mallika today, we have Pankaj Sharma. Pankaj is an ex-banker and has worked in the technology space and has been responsible for driving revenues across various organizations at country level. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations, Mallika and Pankaj. And over to you, Pankaj.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. Well, good afternoon, Mallika. Thank you so much for joining us for the candid conversation. Let me start with your early life, family, schooling. Let me quickly ask if you could please share a brief background about your parents and early life.
Sure. Actually come from this small, beautiful city of Jaipur. I did my schooling. I grew up there. I did my college from there. Thereafter, I did my MBA, which happened to be in the same state, that is Rajasthan. Okay, and from my parents, both my parents were working. My mother was in state administrative services, and my father was with Reserve Bank of India. So they both were working, and in my schooling, I went to this one of these well-known schools of the city, which is this MJD school, which is a girls' school. Yeah.
Great. Well, so I think you've seen a working woman in the form of your mother since childhood, and I think that also must have been inspiring for you, Mallika. So great, fantastic. So how are you different from other kids your age?
So I think clearly one thing which I find very different from other kids, and more so because I come from a girls' school. I used to love math. Now, math is not something that I haven't seen too many girls liking even today. Be it my time or be it today's time, not many girls like math. So that was one different thing. Second thing was I was rather a bit, I couldn't hold back myself if something which I felt I can do better, or somebody's under stress, somebody's under problem, I can go and protect the person. Okay, I couldn't stop myself back. I was I think I was a bit of fearless child. Third thing was that I come from this, the school that I talked about is actually an affluent school. The girls came from an affluent background. I came from a middle-class family. And with a working mother. So, so the kind of, the comforts that probably other kids had, I did not have back at my home. My mother used to go to work on a daily basis, right? So I learned this in my very initial years that, the hard work and that dedication. And I saw how, because the fact that my parents worked, and especially with my mother working, it changed the way we lived. And it changed the standard of living, and it changed the way we looked upon ourselves. We were more confident than probably the others, where I felt as a girl child, as a daughter, I felt I was more confident. And at the same time, I had this passion for doing something important. I was never a child who would like to just, while away my time. I was into academics. I used to prefer, making a mark in academics, something worthwhile, basically. Yeah.
Great. So you were always a very conscious child who knew what she wants to do in life. That's great to know. And I think the courageous spirit which you had in your childhood, it's still intact, is what I see, which is probably helping you breach the glass ceiling in the corporate world today. Great to know that, Mallika. Well, any specific instances from your school days that you recall of? There are those instances which always stay with us for a very long time, which probably have deep impact on us. Anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think some of the teachers and their attitudes, I think have continued to inspire me till date. There was, for example, there was a teacher who was a great learned person herself, and she went out of her way to help me out just with my pronunciation and just with my handwriting.
Wow.
Yeah, and she would actually spare her time from her lunchtime, and they didn't used to get much time. So she used to spare her time from her lunchtime and call me and say that, listen, you need to improve on this, can you just do few pages for me and show me back. And I used to find it difficult to deal with it because she just used to pull me out. Why me? But the point is that she actually improved me so much, and and so it's always stayed with me that somebody as dedicated, and not just her. There have been other teachers, but these instances of these women, these teachers, somewhere has played a big role to me, which it says that even they may not get anything out of it, they went out of their
Right.
ways, they shaped me. Okay, it changed the way I spoke, by the way, at that point of time. So because I came from a middle class school, as I said, and going to this affluent school, it changed me. So this is one of the instances that I think I can kind of quote. Yeah.
Lovely. And I think, teachers like the one you just, mentioned about, it's teachers like these who actually sow the seeds of leadership so early in our lives, in us.
Right.
And these are the things which actually probably, stay with us for a long time and inspire us to do what they did for us.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, moving on from, your school life to your, college education,
Yeah.
you shared, an instance from your school days, but anything from your college days that really shaped you up as a person, any such memories that has had a positive impact on you, Mallika?
So I was part of, I did my, so I just told you that, actually I used to love math. And
Yeah.
from there on, I was wondering what else to do in my life. And so I was thinking of either MCA, because either, people in those times who had this kind of background, they would either opt for, a computer applications or an MBA in finance. I opted for MBA finance because I found it a little bit more attractive, and I went in for that. During the time as a part of management course, what really, really transformed me in a way was that I took up this, we had this management, kind of an event where we used to get sponsorships from various companies, etc. And we used to put up a full event, in participation from all colleges, etc., etc. I think that was a very, very real experience in terms of how to, for example, mobilize funds, how to approach, how to present ourselves at different corporates, and how to, do the actual management of the events, the teamwork, how do we ourselves work together, because the participants were only us. We had like a 70 event, and we were literally from, from 7
Right.
parts to, we were conducting the fashion shows.
Right.
So, how to be participating and conducting the whole thing. So I can quote that. Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I can completely relate to it. And like they say that, in your management schools, the real learning is not inside the classroom, but outside the classrooms. So I can,
Right.
fully resonate with it. And, during your college days, college education, Mallika, any mentors or influencers that you can, recall of, how they influenced you and in shaping up your professional journey post college?
Yeah, I think again, but they're more coming from the people who made me and who kind of forced me into presentations and seminars. I actually realized that it can be my strength. When I was actually made to, given these presentations, and there were a couple of my professors who could see that and who said that, you should come ahead and you should do it. And I realized that, when I actually did that, it turned out well, it turned out great. And not only that, we had a couple of professors who had, a great, not just the professional qualifications. They were the first teachers or first people who made us understand about the corporate world. Before that, I had absolutely no idea. So they gave us insights on, on finance, on marketing. So I think that in a way, and I would see them as not like my regular teachers who were there in the past. Regular, I mean
Right.
to say that these were like knew the real world, the real corporate world,
Yes.
and they talked
Yes.
about. So, and which gave me a window to what may come ahead. And I think that shaped me.
And adding to that, I think I completely agree with you that in our B schools, in Indian B schools, the kind of pedagogy that we have, or the kind of theoretical educational system that we have, I think if you do get exposure in an educational institution or a B school, which is more inclined towards giving you practical exposures and industry exposures, if you do have faculties and professors
Right.
who can actually introduce you to the real world before
Right.
you actually enter the real world,
Yeah.
I think that really prepares you well. So I think how was your, after having these great mentors in your B schools, how was your entry into the professional world? When you landed up your first job, how was it? And from your first job till now, how has been the journey and the evolution in career?
Sure. So actually, when I completed my, this management education, it was year 97.
Right.
And at that point of time, actually, the country was going through a bit of a financial, crisis, in the sense quite a few NBFCs had seen a collapse. And
Right.
there was a little bit of dearth of opportunities at that point of time. I wanted to grow my career in finance. That much I was clear. I had a clear inclination towards finance.
Right.
So I actually entered into a small CA firm, but which gave me a tremendous learning of, again, the real way of looking into financials. I was handling project finance over there, and it gave me the real learning as to how do you really do the financial analysis. So that was my first job, but I would still call it more like my learning ground than my first job. My real first job and my real first break happened with a large bank. At that point of time, it was not just the large bank, it was also the number one employer in the country. So there are these ratings, right? So I didn't even actually think that I would make it. Okay, so when I got this opportunity, I was actually very excited, and I got to work with this company as almost, in a way, my first big break. So that's where it started from. And to talk of how it evolved. So when I got into that, I only knew I like finance.
Okay.
I did not know where am I landing, because finance world is a big.
Absolutely.
World is a very big world, right?
Right.
So I didn't know what exactly am I getting. So I came from this project finance kind of background where I knew about financials, but and I was I was preparing for the corporates, etc. But here, this is actually retail finance. And what I landed into was something called credit policy. And I thought, oh, I don't know, maybe I just have to sit back and write some papers. Probably it's not a thing to do. But I soon realized it's actually a very good match between my skill set, and which happens to be more towards analytical side. And I tend to look into the depth of the problem. So it turned out to be a good match between my skill set and the role that I had in my hand.
Right.
So whoever gave me that, and actually I know who gave that, and he's another one of my role models, and he gave me that opportunity. He was on my panel, who hired me, and I'm thankful to him for finding that fit for me, and having offered that. So yeah, and from there onward, so which is called credit policy, and earlier days, that is from where the risk management kind of evolved. We didn't really have a risk management function, at least in an evolved manner in those times. So it was my first taste of risk management, so to speak. And I realized there is a very good match between what I like to do and what the role offers. And I have kind of been in the same domain all through. Done different things, but yeah.
Well, I think the whole theory that just do what you like doing and success will follow. I
Right.
think that mantra is clearly proven over here when we see you.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic to know you're doing, what you really like doing and what you
Right.
always liked doing. So that's fantastic. Well, in a long spanning career, just as we have our highs when we get promotions, when we land up a great job and we get a great break, at the same time we also have these lows. And while everyone celebrates success, everyone celebrates the highs in careers, it's widely published and people ask you, but there are very few people who actually come and talk about the lows in the career and the challenges and the struggles that they've faced. And
Right.
these are the things which are generally not talked about or asked about. Would you want to share any of such moments which were lows in your career and how you overcame those moments?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. In fact, given that I'm a risk manager, it's the challenges and the lows, through, for example, you're an economic cycle, right? It's always the low of economic cycle which will teach you how to go up the cycle, right? So it's in a way, it's very important to be there, because that's the time when you start preparing yourself and refueling yourself for the next high, in a way, right? So the lows are very important, especially in risk management. And I think for generally in life, because they really, really teach you that what do you need to do in order to get your success back.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So of course, like everybody else, I've had my own lows. And one of the things that I can share is that, so I'm a mother of two children. And so what happens, or what used to happen in those days, was we used to get like 12 weeks maternity off. And I think possibly it wasn't, I'm not saying whether it was adequate or not, but it did, when you return back to work, it plays, in my case, it was always leaving the baby home, my little baby at home. It used to, have to start at my heart, and so it was not easy to really, deal with it, and to figure out, do I really want to give that much focus even in that year? Not in the challenge is only for that particular year, or at least more in that year. What I'm doing is right or not. So I did undergo that. So, and I would say those, and recovering from that, and in a way, you need to make your mark back in your career.
Absolutely.
So those were kind of my lows, and I wanted to emerge from that. Yeah.
Well, and I loved your analogy of correlating the highs and lows in personal life and career with, the economics charts. I really love the highs and lows in the economics charts. Really love that analogy. Great. Well, what if I have to look at you as a leader now, Mallika? What are your typical leadership traits? Some of those very predominant traits, leadership traits that you would like to, probably highlight. And what do you think are some of the most important leadership traits that any leader should probably, possess?
Sure. So I think I'll go with the first one first, is that what do I see in myself, which has helped me in these kind of roles. First is, I think, my being a learner.
Okay.
I'm actually, at heart, I'm a learner. So
Great.
whatever it is, so be it a life situation, be it a work situation, complex, any that I have to deal with. And that's what typically happens. When you have problems, when you have issues, what attitude are you taking towards it? So for example, if you have the learner attitude,
Yes.
okay, however bad or however overwhelming it is, if you at that point of time, you think, let me keep aside the emotions part of it, that it's overwhelming. I have a problem here, okay? Can I solve it? Okay. And am I going to be a learner? And as in, I'm going to learn something from it, or, it's going to be a failure. If you think that even if it's a failure, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter. Although you work towards success, but it doesn't matter eventually. What is important is, will I get my learnings? Okay, because problems will never stop coming, right? So can I learn something from it? Be it the situation, as I said. And that's another reason why I love complexities.
Right.
So I love intricacies. and I like to get into depth of the issues. I like to create things, and I also have a problem solving attitude, I think. So I think
Nice.
it's all coming from the, from math. You have
Right.
a
Right.
problem, you like to solve it, you like to take a solution out, and you want to offer that helps. So the kind of stuff I deal with, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of analytics to it, a lot of situations, processes, and I need to create frameworks or models. How do I get a solution? Okay, so all that helps. And as far as leadership is concerned, whenever we have a problem, and it happens in whichever company you work, whichever organization you work, whichever department you work, you got to deal with problems, right? That's why you're there.
Right.
So, and if you know that, okay, here is just a problem to deal, it's nothing to be overwhelmed about, and you can communicate that to your people, that this is
Right.
actually an opportunity. Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing which I have practically always followed, and I think it helps us as a team or as an organization to come out of it.
Absolutely, very well said. And specifically talking about your learner's attitude and always being a learner. I mean, so many leaders will actually resonate with it. I just recently read about Pankaj Tripathi, the popular actor, who was invited to conduct a masterclass at an international film festival. When he started his masterclass, he started with saying that I myself, student and a learner of cinema. How can I conduct a masterclass? So,
Awesome.
such a popular and accomplished actor like Pankaj Tripathi always is in a learner's mode. So, I think a lot of leaders and accomplished achievers will probably resonate with what you said. Always be a learner. Very well said, Mallika. Well, moving on, from business and leadership perspective, what is it about your behavior that really attracts people towards you at your workplace and professional life, Mallika?
Okay, so actually we should be asking the people, but still, whatever I can gather.
Right.
What I gather is that I think, which I kind of hear from people, like, I think often a word is associated with me, which is being kind.
Great.
Being kind and being simple.
Nice. Well, I think kindness and compassion is one leadership trait, I think, which is badly wanted these days when we are talking about massive layoffs happening everywhere, and when we are talking about ruthless competition. I think kindness and compassion is one trait which will go a long way if sort of displayed and adopted by leaders. Great, thank you. And talking again about leadership, so how do you lead your team? What's your typical style, and where did you pick up your team skills from?
Sure. So although I think it came naturally to me, but having said that, what I have found similarities actually between leadership and parenting. And I think team skills is largely about that. So team
Right.
skills can be associated with leadership, right?
Right.
I think the way a parent recognizes the strengths and weaknesses or the areas to work on, as long as you recognize that and you can allocate people and you can connect with people in such a manner that you give the work or give the tasks which they are good at. At the same time, they need to know there is this person sitting behind me, okay, the leader, whom you can always go back and have a trustful faith that if when I go and
Right.
tell back my problem, okay, either we will work jointly on it, okay, or at least I will not get reprimanded back, or I will not be judged for what I could not work on.
Right.
Okay, so I believe in giving that kind of confidence to the people I work with, that you can always come back and have faith in me. Okay, either we will jointly work out a solution, okay, or at least we'll find ways. It's not the end of the world. We'll find the ways out, and which basically I think gives a kind of a nurturing environment. And that's why I'm saying it's a little bit similar to parenting. And I think it comes a bit naturally to me, maybe because I have two children and I'm kind of, but anyway, so I think it's a bit of a nurturing attitude. And it's also because I feel that when I have a large task in my hand, I want to make the best use of who I have. I do not want people who are working with me to be anyhow, emotionally drawn back. You do not give yourself, you do not give your 100% when, emotionally you're tucked back, right? So
Right.
I like to create that atmosphere and that kind of connect with people that, just give your 100%. If you can't do it, somebody else can do it. And don't worry, you're giving your 100%, you will be taken care of for that. So nobody is
Absolutely.
going to hold you back, that you did not do this. Okay, what you did, and you will be rewarded for that. So I believe this is how I work, and this
Absolutely.
kind of creates a good harmony in the team, and people are not fighting with each other in a way. They're not getting over competitive, and they try to work together.
Hearing you, Mallika, I'm not surprised. There are so many women across the globe who are leading some of the largest organizations and top organizations across the globe. And in back home in our own country, there's so many women entrepreneurs who are creating unprecedented impact, on our economy and the country. So lovely hearing that. Well, and the skills that you've acquired over a period of time, be it interpersonal skills or be it your domain related skills, how do you keep improving your skills? Have you invested your time in that? Do you consciously invest time in it? How do you keep improving your skills?
Yeah. So very important. And somebody's told me this some time back that as you grow up the ladder, what is very important is to keep sharpening your saw.
Right.
Okay. Because you need to get people, of course, as a leader, what you need to do is you need to get people to work on things, right? You need to you cannot be substituting actually for everyone.
Right.
And I learned it the hard way. I learned it very, very hard way, because me being the problem solver or the learner, I wanted to be in everything and wanted to be doing everything. I realized that if I have to achieve bigger things for my organization, I have to invest myself in improving myself in what
Right.
I can. And of course, there's always a lot to learn. And so I will learn to, in a way, make that space for myself. Because if you want to learn something, you want to improve yourself, you need to have people who can kind of chip in and do some work that you were doing, which requires
Right.
education. Right. Now, how I invested, I have been part of, I think, essentially three things I've been doing. One is that I myself enroll myself for courses. And one big one that I did very recently was I did another MBA, my second MBA, which I just finished in actually this year, which was from ISB Hyderabad, which is my second MBA that I did. Secondly, I have been enrolling myself in a few courses and programs regarding risk management, whether it was Basel or whether, it was one program from IM, which I have been doing. So these programs I've been enrolling in, and I'm doing this course, which is kind of participate in these forums on risk management or finance or fintech nowadays, on risk largely. What happens is when I participate in these forums is that my own thoughts crystallize. I need to firstly, when I'm speaking on a particular topic, I need to do some amount of homework. And I
Right.
get to understand what is it that people are looking at? What are the questions in their minds? Okay.
Right.
In order to address those questions, I go back and I do my homework as well, which helps me improve myself in turn. So I think
Right.
this is the second thing that has been happening on its own, but yeah, I've been doing it. What is reading, which is, I think, part of every professional's life. We need to keep ourselves, abreast of what's happening in the environment, and keep updating yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, great. So, what I hear is planning well, doing a lot of research and homework about anything that you want to do is a big part of, continuously improving your skills. And I think that's a great way of, continuously learning and improving. Fantastic. Well, since you read so much and also do a lot of homework and, long spanning career, I'm sure time and again you've had at different points in your career or in life, you would have had role models, either some business leader or probably an actor or some politician or somebody. We would be very interested in knowing, who's your role model, Mallika?
Okay, so my role models, more of them happen to be in work. Yeah. Okay. And of course there are, so actually the way how it happens is you keep getting inspired by different people in your life. Like as I talked about, my teachers were my, in my early childhood, it was my mother and my teachers earlier. Later, it turned out to be the people who were kind of in those domains. For example, in my earlier organization, there was this country head of HR. She was a lady, and she marked some remarkable changes, and which made the difference in the way we looked at our personal lives.
Right.
Not just personal lives, I think also the kind of conviction that she used to carry out those decisions right till the top.
Right.
And sometimes what we see is that, HR could be taken as a softer role, could be. But this lady, she defied it. She said, these are important. And she would take the agenda through and through. She was very senior to me. This happened for talks. And, and I would see those policies coming out. And, when I was doing my own appraisals and somebody told me that, if something is there, you can always go and reach out to her. I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, that's the influence that she had created for HR function itself. She took the HR function to a different level altogether, and which was perceived by anyone and everyone in the organization. So that was one of, because I think she came across as a very strong woman to me. She's one of my role models. Second was who is actually, he is considered as, godfather of risk management in banking. He happened to be the risk head of the organization where I worked. And in the very early years, again, as I said, that risk management was not really a very clearly carved out function per se. And, but it was very critical. Here, there was a person who was completely a visionary. He was extremely calm. And amazing thought process. I think even though I have never reported to him, but I was somewhere in his team always, but I had the opportunity not once, but multiple times to interact and present to him and listen to him. It really shaped in my assessment of how risk management needs to be looked into and how it needs to be carried out in an organization. So it was a tremendous learning, and whenever today also I have any kind of conflict in my mind that what decision I need to take in a situation, I'm always reminded of what would he have done, and I do that. So he is my another one. Yes.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing that, Mallika. And coming back to something lighter. How do you unwind? What are your hobbies and interests, and how do you really unwind? Because you know how stressful work could get, and I'm sure all of us need some hobby to actually unwind. So how do you do that? What are your hobbies?
Okay, yeah. So if you talk about unwinding, although I said reading, but it's not totally unwinding. But I like dancing. Yeah, I like dancing. I like some cooking. And having family time. So
lovely.
Family time and friends time. So these are, so they help me unwind, recharge myself and get back to work.
And what kind of dance is it? Are you like a trained dancer, like classical dancer, or do you do a Bollywood dance? What do you do? We would really love to know that.
Okay, so sure. So while I'm not a trained dancer per se, but I have a fascination for classical dancing, and I've always done that. despite the fact that I'm not trained in it. But I'm currently also learning a lot of Latin dance forms. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is a trained
Interesting.
dancing that I'm learning. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Great. Well, very interesting to know about, the completely unseen and unexplored, part of your professional as well as personal life, Mallika. Really grateful to you for, sharing these insights about your leadership, your professional life, your personal life. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I'm sure this will definitely serve to be an inspiration for a lot of, budding professionals in the credit domain and aspiring leaders as well. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Pankaj, once again for having me over. Thank you.